call it a symbiote. And it chose you.
Get it off of him!
Ready for your annual physical?
I'm the hero here, not you.
The hell's going on with Pete?
You're not yourself.
You want to join us?
He's here.
Fuck down the whole building!
I know I can snap him out of this!
We can fight this together!
Welcome to the Creature Cast, the official Console Creatures podcast. I am your host, Steve Ekvar, and alongside me is my good pal, Bobby. How are you doing, Bobby?
I am elated that it's Friday and that we're talking about the biggest game of October and probably the rest of the year. So I'm
Mario
great.
Wonder, baby.
Super Mario Wonder, yeah.
Oh shit, I forgot about that game and I reviewed it.
Alan
Holy
Wake
fuck.
2, baby. Oh, wait, no, Assassin's Creed Mirage.
Wait,
That's the
Detective Pikachu Returns. That's
There-
the one.
there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah. No, we are here to talk about Marvel Spider-Man 2, and I could not think of anyone better to be here joining us for this episode than another good pal of mine, a friend of the show, Eren Caboose, one of the prime creators for all superhero content, especially Marvel Spider-Man 2. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to finally have a chance to sit here and chat with you, to talk Spider-Man 2.
Yes.
I mean, we've been waiting to get into
God.
the spoilers. You know, I've been hungry to get into those spoilers. So I'm happy finally we have a chance. to jump in
Absolutely.
and talk.
Yeah. So for our audience, Bobby, you and I sat down with Luke. We put out like a 90-minute spoiler-free review that people can go check out if they're, getting into the content now, getting into the game and everything. But we decided, hey, we've waited long enough. We've had this game for about, a couple weeks at this point. We've rolled credits. I've platinumed the game. I know, Aaron, you've platinumed the game as well. So we thought
I'm one away, guys.
One
and
away.
I feel like it's bugged because I got screwed in that stupid slackline trophy. Just destroyed my streak.
We'll get into that, but yeah, we decided there's no better time than now just to get a spoiler cast out there. If you guys are inclined to hear all about the spoilers, definitely keep tuning in, or keep it on your feeds, and then we can get this content out to you when when it's available, when you're done and roll credits. But yeah, Aaron, for people who don't know, what are your like top level thoughts of the game? Before we get into like all the spoilers, I just want to know like what your your overall thoughts are on the game, the gameplay, and all that stuff.
Right. I mean, I absolutely hated it. Maybe one of the worst games I've ever. No, this is. I mean, it's just another Insomniac masterpiece. Honestly, like I don't think these guys are capable of making a bad game. Like at this point, it feels like it's more challenging for them to make a bad game than it is for them to make like these exceptional AAA titles. This is 5 years now. They've put out 5 incredible pieces of just amazing games. In Spider-Man 2, they don't miss. They don't miss. This is for me at least so far, it seems like their magnum opus. This is definitely, I think it was 2 years ago when the first trailer dropped, and it was Bill Roseman at Marvel who said that Marvel Spider-Man 2 in a lot of ways is like The Empire Strikes Back. And I feel like that's kind of the tone that they were setting here. They gave us this new world, this fresh take on Spider-Man that a lot of people enjoyed. And now they go into Spider-Man 2 confident. They understand this character. They know that they've nailed down the characterization. So now they get to just play with the sandbox. And that's exactly what they did. And I think they did such a good job.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And yeah, you put it so succinctly. I mean, coming into my spoiler-free review, I commended Insomniac Games for creating like the ultimate superhero fantasy. I adore everything top to bottom of this third entry in the game. I agree with you. I think that they really did they understand the world, they understand the characters, they understand where all the pieces fit and how to play with them correctly at this point. Recalling my original review, I did find some points in like the supplemental content to be kind of lacking in my personal opinion, but I know that differs between everyone who's playing. But that being said, I think talking spoiler free made me sound a bit more critical than I actually wanted to be, because everything I wanted to praise and kind of like talk about in like an overarching way was like all the spoilers, like all the story elements, all the stuff that we just weren't really able to talk about in our spoiler free review. So I'm
Yeah.
really excited to get into that aspect, because there's a lot to unpack.
I mean, that whole third
God.
act, man.
Well, so the only thing yeah, I don't really have a whole like agenda for this episode. I just kind of wanted us to all kind of like gab about things that
Right.
really piqued our interest. I know we're all big Spider-Man fans, whether or not it's just the
Just a little
games
bit.
or yeah, just a little bit, just Spider-Man media in general. The
Yeah.
only thing I wanted to say for like the very end is like the post-credit stuff and speculation on what comes next, because I think that's a
Okay.
great way to cap things off.
Okay.
I have like a whole bunch of notes of like things that like really like rocked me to my core when I started playing this game. But the first one on my list is like, I want to know what your guys' thoughts, because I had to actually like go back and watch like the first cinematic for the way that the game opens. I mean, everyone at this point has seen the menu screen, and from the menu, it basically gets right into the story. What does everyone think about what Norman's position was with the symbiote on him? Because I didn't really clue into that until like I started thinking about it way after I rolled credits, that the symbiote was on Norman to begin with.
Wait, do you think that that was not like a dream?
Was it? Okay, because
I'm
that's
pretty
what
sure
I
'cause
That's
okay.
what I assumed it was too.
Okay,
Harry said that he kept having like a ton of nightmares when he was in the tank.
Yeah,
And
that's
gotcha.
what I
so
thought.
and because it like transitioned from Norman with his hand on his shoulder and then the
Right.
symbiote wrapping around him to him then being in the tank, I assumed that it was just like
Okay.
a dream sequence kind of thing.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
It
No,
was
that
similar to
makes
what
total
happened to Peter, right? Like Peter had the same kind of thing later on, where it was like reliving his like worst days and like
Sure.
you could see his aunt, right? So I feel it was just like his dreams, which
Okay.
was like a perfect kickstart to like seeing Harry for the first time, right? It was a great introduction to the character.
Although I will say it's a great way to like again like start just immediately subverting expectations, because in my mind that just it started to plant the seed that like wait, Norman could be Venom. Like they
Right.
could really go out of left field here and make Norman Osborn Venom at some point in this game, which
yes,
it was
but
good. I still believed that it was going to be
Yeah.
Harry, you know? Like I was still like it's probably going to be Harry that's
Right.
Venom. But that was a good way to like keep me on my toes, you know?
for sure, I thought the same. It was just, but we know that Norman's like definitively the Goblin. So I mean,
Right.
to make him both characters, it's like okay. I mean, it would be cool, but that's the problem when you have these rogues, right? Like you have to start differentiating them to a point where you can't just have like one character doing three things. right?
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, as a character, I think they did a great job introducing the Osborns.
Mhm.
I mean, it's still hard to compare them to Willem Dafoe and James Franco, because like those two are like probably my favorite versions. But for sure, like these are the second runners up. I really want to see what they do in the third game with like what's going on, because like we're left on this dangling wire right now, and it's just like where are they going to take them now, because they've subverted every expectation I've ever had, and I feel like they left it open for another Venom outing. I mean, the whole point of this game was Venom's
Yep.
literally got his threads and everything. Like he's there from the beginning. From credits opening to credits roll, you feel his presence throughout the city, throughout the characters. Like he's over them.
Yeah.
And he can't just be gone.
No.
I
No,
have
he
to agree.
feels too big of a character to just be gone like that. I mean, I guess that's a great segue. Like, Aaron, coming off of this game, like, how did you feel about Venom as not only like a threat, but like Tony Todd's performance and the
Oh,
way
man.
that, yeah, we were introduced to the symbiote just by virtue of the tank, but then getting into his the symbiotes, taking over Peter and all that stuff. Like, how did you feel about that whole arc throughout the game?
Oh man, I couldn't have been happier with
Yeah.
the way that it was all handled and the way that it all went down. Because okay, a lot of people going into this were like, I mean, we knew at least for a fact that Venom was not going to be Eddie Brock, right?
Right.
We were going into this knowing that Insomniac was giving us a new take. They were doing something very different. And so with that, there were a lot of people, some that are like the comic purists, that's like, no one can be Venom except for Eddie, you know? And for a lot of those people, they needed to go into this feeling like there's like Insomniac has some work to do to prove us wrong. And I think this game did a good job at really promoting the idea that at the end of the day, yes, it's interesting who's the host, right? Or who the symbiote latches onto. But so long as when he's that giant creepy monster, as long as that characterization is done well, then everything else just it adds to it, you know? And I always again, going into this game, I'm sitting here thinking it makes the most sense for Harry to be Venom, for the emotional stakes of it, for just like no matter what, like Harry being Venom for the character arc and for the story, it services it the most. And I feel like especially when he becomes Venom, it makes sense. You know why?
Mhm.
The motivations are there. You understand because what's so important about Venom too is that it's not just that the symbiote hates Peter, but the person who's obtained it also hates Peter before he even has the symbiote, right?
Right.
And so Harry gains that hatred because of Peter even having the symbiote himself, but also because he's dying and he feels like his friend won't give him the suit back to save his life. It's so interesting. And then Venom was so cool, man.
Yeah,
I
that was
mean,
a wicked introduction.
they did
So it was
such a
perfect.
good job. It was perfection. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're getting full into spoilers,
Of
so I,
course.
I wonder what your guys' reaction was because for me, at this point of the game, when they were introducing Venom, when we were finally getting into Venom, I was content. You know, I was like, they've done a really good job up until here. You know, that fight against Peter with the symbiote was phenomenal.
Yep.
The cutscenes and all the story related stuff were so good. Everything with Craven was just fantastic.
God.
And going into Venom, I was like, I don't know, is he gonna be? I don't think he's gonna be playable now. Like, and I was
Right.
content. I like the symbiote suit. I like playing as Peter. I like playing as Miles. Even the MJ missions got a bit of an upgrade, you
They
know?
were
Yep.
so good.
And then the camera swings back and it says press square to
Oh
attack.
my
And I'm
God.
like, are you kidding me?
Yep.
So I guess I'll just throw it back to you guys. Like, what was that initial reaction for you guys when you first saw, like, oh my God, we're actually playing as Venom?
Bobby, go for it.
I took screenshots of everything. I was like, well,
Yeah.
you see the symbiote like crawl over his face, and you see
Yeah.
the face come to life. Where I'm like, yep, screenshot. And I took like I can show you guys later. I took like 30 screenshots of that opening, like just transition to Venom, and I'm like, okay, well, I started just dogpiling to Osborn mercenaries. And I'm like, well, if that's what they're there for. So like,
Mhm.
it was the greatest transition in the last 3 games. Like, it beats basically the Doc Ock fight. It beats Miles facing off against Finn. Like, it was like the best transition from a scene to gameplay. And I think it beats everything Insomniac has done. Like, any of the Ratchet and Clank games, everything that they've done up until this point, this is what they built to. It was that moment.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
this is it. Like, everything that they've learned is right here, and it's that transition to playing as Harry. And I think I want a full game, and I know they've been talking about fan reaction and seeing what people think of Venom. We need a game as Venom. Like, give us a Miles Morales spinoff of Venom. That's all I want, and I really, 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 really expect it because Venom is such an iconic character. Do you guys think he's as popular, if not more popular than Spider-Man? Because I feel like, to me, they're on par. I can't have
I
one without
mean,
the other.
that
they're
first
up
Venom
there.
movie is god awful, and it made
Oh,
almost
the movies are
$1 billion.
terrible, like, for
But
sure. But
the point I'm
it's
making
still
is,
cool seeing Venom on the big screen. Like, if they,
but what I'm trying to say is, he's so popular that even though the movie is that bad, it still makes
Yeah.
almost $1 billion.
Exactly,
Right?
exactly.
It's a super marketable character.
he's just seeing him for the first time. I mean, because I know everyone. I'm sure you guys played Web of Shadows, but
Sure.
playing him in Ultimate Spider-Man on PS2, like, I want that from Insomniac.
Yeah.
That was the definitive Venom game for me. It was like Ultimate Spider-Man playing as Venom.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I need more Venom. Like, it was a great little gameplay sliver, but it wasn't enough to CD8 me because I want a full 20-hour game of that. Just give us that character. I'll take San Francisco. I'll take Chicago. Give us the city. Give us destruction. Give us
I mean,
prototype.
just put us back into this city, and honestly, let it be essentially a prequel to that final
Sure.
act of the
Right.
game, and let us just like take control of Venom and what he was up to, before we fight him.
Yeah.
You know, the
No,
way he starts to take over the city. I think that worked perfectly.
absolutely. Yeah.
I'm all for it.
I think what makes that moment, the moment that you're talking about, Aaron, that the camera swings like to the third person perspective,
Yeah, yeah.
is just such an accomplishment just based off how much time they led up to it. Like at that point, you're probably at least what, 15, 20 hours into the game, unless you're like, just mainlining it and everything. But there's so much like anticipation. There's so much build up by virtue of the story and everything. And just seeing the conflict, the human conflict side of like Peter and Harry standing there, each other's motivations and everything, the frustration that Harry has and all this and what is leading up to in that very moment. And then you get like the moment where, Peter gets thrown into the wall or whatever. Norman gets thrown and everything. And then it's just kind of like off to the races where you're just
I like
plowing
how
through
they make you
doors.
think you're about to go straight into a boss battle
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh my God, wait, we're going to fight him right away. And then it's like, wait, no, we're playing as him. Like, it's crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the subversion of expectation and then delivering on what I think every person wanted was give us a section, give us a moment where we get to play as this character. And it feels like this game has so many like marquee moments, whether it's, the opening with Sandman, the lizard fight,
Yeah.
and everything. But this one solidifies as like, oh no, this is the moment in the game, at least for me. And then it not only goes into this big, action sequence where you're just able to just unleash hell on all these like mercenaries who don't even stand a chance. But then it goes directly into one of the coolest boss fights, in my opinion, which is versus Kraven.
Oh my God.
That was incredible.
Oh my God.
And it's like they just keep topping themselves. And like the adrenaline, like that must have lasted at least what, like 20, 30 minutes, like all the way through to the end of the boss
I felt
fight.
like an
And
hour. I felt like an hour.
the whole time I was like on the edge of my seat being like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is like a real game.
It's funny because probably by the time that this is out there, my spoiler chat actually with Brian Intar will have been released.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, I couldn't not ask him about playable Venom and kind of the decision making behind it. And the first thing immediately that he told me, it very much mirrors the concept of from the first game, the webs attaching to buildings, right? Where he said to me, he said he wouldn't be stupid enough to make a Spider-Man game with Venom and not have him playable, essentially. And I feel like that so perfectly encapsulates kind of the thinking at Insomniac, where yes, they need to do what services the story, they need to do what's important to their interpretation of this character. But this game, it's for the fans, it's for the people who love this character, who love this world, who've been waiting for an experience like this. They know what people want, they understand to the core what people are expecting and what people are hoping for. And they deliver. They do not miss a beat every single time.
No. I totally agree with that, because it's not only do they understand what Venom is, what all the other characters are anyways, but it's just their execution of it all. Like,
yeah,
knowing that Venom is in like a piece of media, everyone's waiting for the iconic line, like, "We are Venom." And when we get to that moment, Tony Todd sold it. It was, oh my God, like,
so
like chills, because I was like, holy shit, like the tension in this room that, Peter, MJ, and Harry are all in, and then just the transformation at the time. I was like, oh, they are just, they know what they have. They know like the magic that they have in their hands, and they know what to do with it.
Yeah, I have to agree.
And yeah, I mean, I'll just continue on from that very scene is like, I popped the hell off seeing Scream. Like,
I know
that was like, okay, yeah, no, this is great. Like they're obviously going full symbiote alien. Like I want to see I want to see everything. I want Carnage at this point. Like they're pulling us towards that.
Well, I don't know if you've played the side missions, Bobby, but
everything. Oh yeah, I mean the flame mission was perfect. Like I think that was a great teaser for Carnage, right? But like they planted that seed perfectly. It's there now. We know it's there.
Exactly.
Symbiote. I don't know if it at this point, like, do we know if it lived or do we know if it died? Because like,
well,
what happened at the end?
In some way, someone still has it by the end of the game,
right?
And so my questioning or my wondering is that a DLC setup or is that a Venom game setup?
That's exactly
right. And in my honest opinion, knowing who played that character, that is not DLC, in my opinion.
You think that's like a part of a Spider-Man 3?
I think that's either Spider-Man 3 or, I mean, Brian Intihar is even talking about, we're gonna listen to player
Yeah,
feedback and everything.
yeah.
If it's a straight up like Venom versus Carnage game, sign me the hell up.
But so then, okay, so do they then introduce Eddie?
That's
at
what
that
I'm
point?
saying.
Like,
Yeah.
is this where they manage to make their cake and have it too, kind of thing
Right.
for the fans? I
So I
really
think that
wonder.
I think that's their chance because, I mean, I don't know. Again, we'll we'll talk about speculation right here because, like, I do want to get into this specific aspect because I do think that you can't overdo New York way too many times. So I think that if they are going to do like a Venom versus Carnage game, this gives them the opportunity to create like another playground that's smaller,
Interesting.
maybe in scope, while not putting like all their assets and all their focus on doing, okay, what's next for New York or anything like that. Because, yeah, to your point, if they are going to do something with Venom, it would only make sense if they do something with Eddie Brock at that point, rather than it being like a Harry interstitial,
Right.
at least in my head.
Right.
And Bobby, I'm not sure if you know, do you know who played Cletus Cassidy in the game?
I'm looking up right now because like
Who
I
is it?
didn't even pay attention to who it
It's
was. but
Cameron
apparently it's Cameron
Monaghan.
Monaghan.
Wait, what?
It's Cameron fucking
No
Monaghan.
I
Yeah.
didn't put that together 'cause,
way.
like, it didn't sound like him. It didn't, and like nothing like gave me that impression.
And that's why I'm
It's
saying
actually perfect.
this character is not DLC. Like, he is either the
he's definitely a big
antagonist.
baddie. Like if we do the
for
symbiote,
spin-
whatever they did with the symbiotes, like where they have like I forget his name. I think it's Crawl or something.
Crawl. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, him. If
mean-
they do something like that, because like there's just so many Easter eggs that are pointing to like the bigger Marvel universe at this point. Like it's
Dude,
not
this
just.
is. See, I wish when I was interviewing Brian that I actually had a little more time to ask him if at one point or another they were going to show him, because especially
No,
that moment
sorry.
when you were in the hive mind,
Yes.
I was like, oh my god,
right.
they're gonna like pan up to Null. Like
I really
I don't
thought-
think
yeah.
that Null was gonna be like in the game,
Same,
Like,
so
and
did
I
I.
don't think even if they do like a Venom game or whatever or DLC, whatever, I don't think we're gonna build to Null at all, right? Like
Sure.
if anything, maybe hear a name drop, right? But
Yeah.
I thought for a second there we were just gonna see the character, just an Insomniac design of Null. And I mean, Donny Cates and some of his more recent symbiote and Venom stuff has been like some of the best Spider-Man related comic book stuff I've read in a very long time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I was all in that Insomniac was taking inspiration for something that's so new from the comics. Seeing the swirl on those little symbiote minions, that was
Exactly.
awesome. I was
Yeah.
so good. So good.
Yeah, I think just the overall like character design and the symbology of it all, like it did make me very, like, it was very reminiscent of like modern Spider-Man storytelling and art. That, yeah,
Yeah.
I thought for sure we'd at least get some sort of imagery alluding to Null, not necessarily incorporating him into the big story, because I think that's a little too out there for what Insomniac's trying to do. But yeah, I was kind of surprised that we didn't get any kind of like any kind of allusion to it, like,
Just something.
yeah,
No,
or
I
even
know.
in like Connor's lab when Spider-Man's kind of going through it or anything. I was expecting there to be like a piece of paper to talk. I don't know, but
Yeah.
There was a lot of things I didn't expect. Like I really thought, like we said, the hive mind. Like, why didn't they have like a nod to like the Marvel Cinematic Universe or Loki? Just
That could have
something
been
where
cool. Something
where
that
would it show
really
like
ties it
Kang
all
or
together.
something? Just like a little
Yeah.
flash, like nothing important. Just here's Kang, or here's Tom Hardy's Brock. Just something, because like the hive mind is basically what we learned in the movie was what it sees everything in every universe.
That's right.
well, that
Why didn't they
is,
show just like
yeah.
a little blip of like even Tom Holland's Spider-Man, just something to just be like, oh hey, they're really pulling in all aspects of the Marvel universe. And there is a side mission that does do that, because like
Yeah.
I lost my mind when that happened, because I was like, well,
Oh, it's so cool.
it was
It's
a
so
great
cool.
little nod to the movies and specifically the Spider-Verse movie. That was a great little Easter egg.
And
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it out there, Aaron. You and me were the first people in the damn Uber
Yep.
ride from that, and you and me both on that. We're like, it's leading
We
up to
pieced it
Miguel.
together. Yeah,
That's
it.
what I thought it was, because the spider bots. It makes sense. Yeah,
because
no,
I
it
mean,
definitely
like
makes sense.
we saw those spider bots when we got the
Yep.
hands-on preview, and I just remember like as soon as I started to go and find a bunch of them, and then
Mhm.
it was in the initial call that Genki gives you where he's like, "Hey, the ping is coming from like a million miles away,"
That was the one. Yep.
and then Peter's like, "Oh, they couldn't be in like deep space." And then I patched that together with like hearing the fact that like it was mentioned to me by someone in Insomniac at the time who was like, "Hey, what's that weird pulsating effect?" And it
Yep.
just like my Jimmy Neutron like brain blasted while we were in the car together, Steve. I was like, "Oh, that's like the Spider-Verse effect."
Yep.
You know, and even
And
when you collect them, it's like it does the little glitching effect
Yep.
on Spider-Man, you know?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
you see like
Even
the portal,
the
the
bloom.
hexagonal
Yep.
portal when they're in the air or something. Yeah, so cool.
Yeah, yeah, but I do want it to be on the record that me and Aaron, we were amongst the first, I would
Yes.
say, to point that out.
I
I was
take creds.
so certain in that Uber ride. We were like, no, it's gonna lead up to Miguel. It's gonna have some sort of nod to the Spider-Verse. Because having Yuri's Spider-Man in the movie, it only makes sense for there's to be some sort of like transaction there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I love the confirmation when Genki's like, oh, it's go to this one spot and you walk up and it's the portal there. It's
So
the bar with no name.
what I wonder is like, will we potentially see that character Delilah in some way and beyond the Spider-Verse? Like, I found it interesting that they used such an obscure character when they could have done something as grand or as big as just
Right.
literally having Miguel pop up on the other side of the portal being like, I need my spider bots back or something
Sure.
like that, you know?
Yeah,
So I
I do
wonder if that
wonder
character will show up
in one way or the other, like
yeah.
whether or not there's further incorporation in like
Yeah.
Spider-Man 3 or vice versa and Beyond the Spider-Verse if there's something to allude to the games.
I
I don't
wonder.
really know, but it was exciting because I feel like again, Insomniac has this playground, Sony has this playground. Why not use it all?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm still blown away that Cameron Monaghan's playing Cletus Cassidy. That
I see it now because I'm
I
looking.
had
At the,
no
I'm
idea.
looking at it right now. I'm like, yeah, I can kind of see where they're doing, because like they masked him so well.
Yeah, they did such a good job with that.
I'm looking
And
at that.
is that his
that
voice
last
too?
one.
That's his voice and everything.
It's his voice, yeah.
It's his
I-
likeness too. I
Holy,
can kind of
he's
see it. You can
brilliant.
kind of
Is it?
see like it's like a
Even-
warped version of him. It
Even
is
just
him.
playing through that mission, man. I mean, that's part of the reason why I mentioned in my review that the side content in this game is so
Phenomenal.
good.
Yeah.
I
It's-
mean,
it's better than the first game, but like I was telling Steve in our review, I'm like, it still doesn't hit the highs of God of War side quests. Like
really,
I feel like it didn't do it. I mean,
I think
some
there
some of
aren't
them,
as
like the
many
friendly
as God of
neighborhood
War
stuff
offer.
definitely hit that bridge.
Mhm.
Like it
Yeah.
did it, but there was still too much padding. I think if they fleshed out maybe like one or two more, maybe three more missions in the friendly neighborhood app, it would have been on par. But God of War like really elevated their side quest because it all tied into this world more than I feel like these games did.
that's fair.
And
Yeah,
I mean,
I
to
mean-
be fair, I mean I know they're two different studios, but I mean, side content has never been Insomniac's best hand. I mean, that's kind of where I think they've kind of always suffered. It's just there's too much cannon fodder there. Like I even like just like the crimes, and the first game was just really bad with that. But it's overall it's like a huge improvement. Like I now that I finished the game, I understand it's way better than the first game.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But there's still a little bit of room to grow. I think like they have another game to perfect it. I think.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think there's still room for perfection, like to really refine it. But I mean, it's a huge leap from
Yeah.
what they had done in the first
Well,
game.
Absolutely.
They exceeded expectations on
And
that.
that
everything.
Carnage one really blew my mind because going into it even too, where it sets up as just like you're helping out like the firemen, right?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
from and then Wraith shows up and you're like, wait, whoa, what's this? And then
Right.
the way that slowly creeps in to as well too, like the random crimes around the open world in the beginning of the game are those arsonists, right?
Mhm.
They're trying to blow up like tanker trucks or they're burning down buildings and stuff, and then it builds and builds. The moment I saw that wonderful redhead man on the projector, I was like, oh, that's it. Everything clicked. As a Spider-Man fan, I'm like,
Yeah.
he's a cultist. He is an
Right.
arsonist. That's Cletus Cassidy,
Yeah.
like that was such good storytelling. And I couldn't believe too, because even again, seeing that, it was in my mind, like, they're not gonna go there. There's no
Exactly.
way they're gonna do that. It's cool. Cletus in the game, fun little nod. Of course, it makes sense that he'd show up in a game that's about the symbiotes and stuff. but I don't think he's gonna like become Carnage.
Right.
And then it ends with him obtaining a symbiote and it's turning red in his hands. I couldn't believe it. I
See,
couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
I
they,
kept talking myself out of it because of
Yeah.
those same exact reasons where I was like, "Oh, he has red hair. That's got to be Cletus." And the more like the missions continue, I was like, "There's no way." Like, it's just whatever. Like, oh, he has all the scars on his hands. Like, he's definitely like, I don't know what the hell the flame is or whatever, but I was like, "There's no way Insomniac's gonna do it." Like, there's way too many villains in this playground already. I was like, they're not gonna add Cletus into this and everything.
Yeah.
They're gonna save it for like his own game or something like that, maybe a third game and everything. And then yeah, he picks up the vial or the tube of it and it starts turning red. I was like, oh, these sons of bitches, these people at Insomniac Games, they just
They don't miss.
They don't miss. They really don't miss. And then yeah, the line delivery. There's gonna be Judgment and Carnage. I was like, oh,
Way
my
better
God,
than
these-
Woody Harrelson.
yeah, no, let's
Way
never
better
talk
hair,
about
too,
that.
let's
That
be
was
honest.
so
Yeah,
bad.
I'm gonna have to agree with you on that.
Yeah. But yeah, like, oh my God, that moment was perfect.
They've done Insomniac is really good at adapting the source material in a way
Yeah.
that it doesn't feel boring and it's not a retread of what we've seen, and that alone is why I trust them to do the right thing with the next game.
Mhm.
And it feels like we're finally getting a Spider-Man / Marvel game that is becoming and worthy of the franchise and the brand, because I mean we've had a lot of stinkers in the past, and
Yeah.
Sure.
Marvel's Avengers we can talk about all day. Great single player. Everything else really freaking sucked. But yeah, I mean they've done a great job at showing you something you've grown up with, but in a new light. And as much as I hate to say, I still don't like Peter's face. Like his personality is fantastic.
Mm.
Miles is probably my favorite version of that character. He completely blows out the movie version because of just the growth he's given in 2 games.
Oh yeah.
Mary Jane, great character. I mean, she's not just a bystander anymore. Like she's actively involved, and everyone has a role to play, and it's a respectful role, and it gives them. Everyone has a proper stage to just showcase the true version of that character. So like you get to see the best version of Jay Jonah, despite him being such a troll. You get to see.
Oh my
Robbie
God,
Roberts.
the Jay Jonah moment in the beginning of the game.
That was great.
had me
Yes.
crying laughing.
That was
So
great.
good.
I put that clip, the I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Wait, where am I going? I put that clip in my review. I watched it. You guys, my girlfriend, I watched it 1,000 times. I laugh every single
The
time.
delivery is so good.
So good.
He's a great character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like everyone is just so great in this game, and
Yeah.
I like, and then they just keep introducing new characters, and it's like, whoa, this is the first time we're seeing this character on screen, and it's like, whoa, what are they going to do with this character? And we saw that with Cletus, because, like we said, no one knew it was Cletus until the end of the game, and I'm like, whoa. And then you got characters that we'll talk about maybe in a couple minutes, but it's just like, whoa, they're not characters you normally see.
Yeah. No,
On
for sure.
screen or whatever you want to say, like on in a game. But but yeah, overall, like it's been such an enlightening experience to have a comic book game that isn't like a licensed game. It respects everything about the brand, and it elevates it to like a new level. Like I feel comfortable in saying that Marvel Spider-Man 2 stands pretty damn close to Arkham City. Like it's on that level.
I'll say, and I'll ask you guys this too, because this is personally the way that I feel is I look at Spider-Man 2 on par in terms of like the leap it took from Spider-Man PS4, similarly to the way that the leap that City took from Arkham Asylum. You know,
I 100% agree. Yeah.
like it's like I still have to really sleep on it and sit on it whether or not like I think it's better than Arkham City or whether or not it's the greatest superhero game of all time. Like that's a lot for me to think about, because Arkham City is my favorite game of all time. But for sure. But I look at it like from the PS4 like first Insomniac outing of Spider-Man to now this, like that jump is so big. Even from Spider-Man Miles Morales to this is such a huge leap.
Absolutely.
That it rivals the jump that Rocksteady had taken from Asylum to City. And that's the biggest praise that I can give this game is, Of course, when you look at Spider-Man PS4 to Miles Morales, we're still in the same sandbox. A lot of things feel very similar. You have a new playable character with new abilities and a new story, of course. But in Spider-Man 2, it's like everything is fresh. Everything is new, from the look of the game, from the combat and the different things that you could do with the characters, the options that are available there, the opportunity to play as Venom, these side quests. They really went all out with this game, which is why I don't even know how they're going to be able to top this with Spider-Man 3, but it excites me because my expectations are high. They're as high as they were for this game, and my expectations were surpassed greatly with this game. So I can imagine Insomniac is going to deliver again. It's come to a point where I'm just confident in their capability.
Exactly.
They have the
I
stable
just
to
don't
do
even
it.
I
They
I
have
don't
the
even
stable.
question it at this
Yeah.
point. Like I am just like Wolverine. I don't even have to question it.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
don't
yeah, it's going to be
care.
good.
Like exactly. I want to go back to one of the points that you both kind of made, is that the kind of leap from Asylum to City, because I feel like the same thing can be said here, where this world just feels like so established, lived in, to the point where they reintroduce Tombstone, and it makes total sense. The game opens up with the Sandman fight, and
Yeah.
you just
Yeah.
understand, like, oh yeah, this is like the world that they live in. They don't have to introduce, Marco's origin story leading up to him becoming like this massive, towering villain and everything. For me personally, I'm a Mysterio fanboy. I love that character to
Oh
death.
yeah.
Getting to the end of that storyline and seeing the twist that they did on that, I was like, this is genius. Insomniac just understands all these characters, how to play around with them, and to have the balls to kill off Vulture, Electro, Scorpion, and be like,
Yeah.
we don't need them anymore because we have so many other characters that we're not only introducing, but teeing up for the inevitable future. I was
I
like,
will say I would
I
have
couldn't
liked
believe
to have
it.
seen more of like that cutscene with Craven and Scorpion. I would have liked to have
Same.
seen him go toe to toe with Shocker, him go to
Yes.
toe to toe with Vulture, all these other villains, because that scene with Scorpion really sets a tone that this guy is easily, like without even breaking a sweat, demolishing one of the major members of the Sinister Six.
Yep.
Like it's nothing like
You,
that,
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Thor: Love and Thunder in a similar
Yes,
way,
that's
where
exactly what I was
Thor
just
the
about to
God
make.
Butcher is talked about as this like insane threat. Like
Yeah,
he's out there killing gods and everything. I would have loved to see Craven the exact same way, where it's like,
yeah.
oh, he's just dismembering this old vulture, this Electro. Like I wanted to see him, like, because
You
I'm not a huge Craven fan. I know, Aaron,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can talk. Yeah, I want to hear
Oh,
your
yeah.
thoughts on Craven's performance in this. I'm traditionally not, only because he does come across as a little campy. But that being said, I think in this world, the way that Insomniac played with him and established this character works so well.
Yeah.
And I would have loved to see more of that, like,
So
viciousness. But yeah, I want to throw it to you because I want to hear all your thoughts about Craven.
yeah, yeah. So I think there's one thing that I feel like really could have brought it home for the really landing how vicious and how menacing this guy could be. And it was that moment when you're kidnapped by him as Miles, and
Mm,
you walk through and you see that there are prison cells for the other villains, right? Like there was one for Shocker.
yep.
What would have really brought it all together is if you actually saw the villains like almost
Yes.
cowering in fear in those cells, being like, "Oh my god, I don't want to fight this guy, man. Like, get me out of here." Like, I think that if
Sure.
I was sitting there, if I was the fly on the wall on Insomniac, that would have been the one recommendation I would have made to really like just they already did such a good job of Craven's characterization. I think they really nailed like how menacing he is and what his just driving force is all about. But that would have been that one last thing to be like, "Oh, yeah, we you can't mess with this guy," you know?
Better yet, though, instead of having them in the cages, have their armor or like their gear just on a pike.
Dismantled.
On a
Yeah.
pike.
Oh, yeah, that would have been
Yes.
good. That would have
Just
been good,
have them
actually.
there. Like there's like look what they did with Craven. Like Venom bit his head off, and we saw that. So
I
it's
know,
like
they really went there.
they
Yeah.
went there, and I was like, I didn't expect that. But like
Yeah.
if they were brave enough to do that, like show Vulture's wings on a pike or something.
Yeah.
Show the Shocker just like his body just like crumpled. Like
Yeah,
do it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree. That definitely that could have helped too. But I guess in general, to answer your question, Steve, like they nailed it, man. Like I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan of Craven. He
I
is one of my
liked
favorite Spider-Man villains. And at the end of the day, what I love is that he's not like he's not like one of Peter's friends. He's not a
Right.
mentor. He's not like some scientist where things went wrong. This guy just wants to fight somebody and for it to be a good fight. That is all he is after. And he'll
Yep.
kick everybody's ass until he finds that one person that can fight back. And
Yep.
that's why it's so brilliant that they didn't even have the Spider-Man beat him. Because, okay, they knocked him out, whatever, maybe they incapacitated him, but at the end of the day, he's kind of handed it to the Spider-Man. I mean, he practically kills Peter,
Right.
right? Like, he
Yep.
kills him.
Yep.
And so, but the only way this guy loses is by, in his way, winning. And that's by fighting Venom. His last hunt, his ultimate challenge. And it's through a Venom boss battle or Kraven boss battle as Venom.
Yeah.
Holy
Insane.
smokes.
Yeah.
It was
man.
peak. It was like peak.
Yeah, it was literally peak fiction. That's as best as I can describe it. Is that
It
that
really,
was
it really
genuinely
was,
peak
and
freaking fiction.
yeah, and I love that. I love that the fact that you brought up Aaron, where it was like, yeah, Craven doesn't care about conquering New York or anything like that. He's just after his final hunt and everything, to the
Yep.
point where he doesn't even see even Miles as a threat. And I talked about this in my spoiler free review, but the fact that you could go through missions and Craven's hunters are like, oh, this isn't the real Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Who gives
yeah.
a shit about him? Like, just kill him. Like, I was like, oh my god, they're doing Miles so dirty. But like, he very much see, like, as soon as he like that scene with them in the church and everything, he's like, oh no, that's my dude. Like, that
Yeah, I
Peter
want
is
that
the one.
guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then
Speaking of,
yeah.
sorry, I love how they tied in Craven's brother to being Chameleon.
Yes.
What the
So
hell was
good.
that? Like, what? Like, really? And then you
know-
see him later watching,
Yeah.
and it's like,
It's
okay,
so
well,
brilliant too, because I remember like going through that specific side quest when we got the hands on Steve last
Mhm.
month.
Yep.
And I remember like you chase the drone, you find it, and then Miles
It's
is
the
like,
face.
oh, it's like scrambled. Like
Yep.
who's Craven hunting? And like as I slowly started to go through more and more of those, I was like, oh,
Yep.
this makes sense now.
Yep.
This has got to be Chameleon. And yeah, great build up, great payoff. Again, another cool villain that they've potentially set up for the next game or a DLC or something.
Exactly.
And it just goes to show once again, like I mean, Spider-Man and Batman, there are no two characters in comic book history that will ever have greater rogues galleries
Yep.
than these two characters.
Yep.
And it just goes to show, even though they've done the Sinister Six, they're gonna do Green Goblin, they've done Venom, they've done Kraven, Lizard, all these big name villains. There's still so many other villains they can plant the seeds for, that they can introduce and do fun stuff with.
they could kill a group every game, and we'd still have a bunch left to in
Exactly.
that game. And it's like I hope they're building towards that, because as great it is to see like a Sinister Six, it's great is to see is like Venom and Carnage. It's like there's so many cool characters that we could have, and
Yeah.
I want to see like Spider-Woman. I want to see like these characters. I want to see these
Well-
characters we haven't seen, or like that can finally make their entrance, because for whatever reason, Marvel doesn't want to put them in the spotlight. They're relegated just to comic books. So I think the best way to bridge that is put them in a game.
Well, I think the funniest part of that is, and this is just like, again, not maybe back then when in 2018 after beating the first game, I was like, oh my god, like they already did the Sinister Six. Who's left at this point? Yeah, we've
I
got
know.
Green Goblin, we got Venom and stuff like that. But like again, to Insomniac's credit, you just can't question them, because yeah, they are the ones that are willing to go, yeah, we're gonna do Chameleon, we're gonna do Scream, we're gonna do like just bring up like these characters that would never see the light of day in any other game under anyone else. And yeah, I just commend them for just being able to do that over and
yeah.
over again.
And like personally, I would love to see just like a Clone Wars thing. Give us Ben Reilly, give us Chasm.
Really?
I mean,
That's
I think the
controversial.
character is. I think the character is good. He's been done dirty 1,000 times in the comic
Yes.
books, but like,
Yeah.
put that in a game. Like, I trust Insomniac to be able to adapt that storyline, because look what they did with Venom, and I actually prefer this version because it makes sense. Harry became despondent. He was angry at Peter, and what does he do? He becomes Venom.
Yeah.
Set up Eddie Brock, just a stupid rivalry over a job. Okay, that kind of whatever. But like they took Venom, they made him better. So take Ben Reilly, make him better, because he's such a boorish character. And and I only say this right now because I told Steve I'm very disappointed that they still didn't put in the superior Ben Riley suit in the game, which I still think is the best design suit in 30 years. And yeah, that's what I'm burned up about. But yeah, I just want a game with that suit because I think Ben Riley is a great idea, just not implemented properly. And I feel
fair.
like Insomniac could probably do that. Like, give us Clone Wars, give us whatever you guys want. Do you want to do Secret Wars? Oh, I'm down for
Oh
Secret
man.
Wars.
You see, I mean, I don't doubt that if there were to be any studio right now at PlayStation or just in general to handle the Marvel property and do it
Yeah.
justice, it'd be Insomniac. And
Absolutely.
especially within the Spider-Man lore, like I feel like they've just got it down so well. But I really like so far what they're doing, especially too, like in the first game, they didn't want to do it that like Peter dies in order to usher in Miles Morales as a Spider-Man. It's like, no, like
Yep.
they're Spider-Men together.
Absolutely.
And
That's a cop out.
no,
Killing off a
really?
character is a cop out. Let
Oh,
him
right. Yes,
retire.
yes, yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I mean, I think for the time when they had done it for Ultimate Spider-Man in the comic books, it was
It made sense.
understandable. But now it's been such an overused trope. So I agree with you with that. But like I like that they're doing this whole thing where they don't need to like dip into the multiverse in order to introduce other characters that may have these superpowers, right? And now, I mean, we're gonna get into it, but they're
Yeah.
doing it again. You know, like
They're doing it again.
I don't know how at this point they explain a third person being bitten coincidentally by a radioactive spider.
Right.
But granted, if you've read the origins of this character, they could go down that route.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
I
want to
mean,
get into it.
no,
Steve.
I think this is perfect as we start, heading towards the tail end of the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I do want to talk about speculation, where they go from here. We already talked about maybe a potential Venom spinoff and everything, but I just want to know about like leaving this game off. We got Peter semi-retired. We got Norman and Doc Ock possibly partnering. Doc Ock even alludes to, what comes next is the final chapter. Does that mean Spider-Man 3 is the last game in the series?
Right.
Norman's working on the G serum. I think that's what it was called.
Yep.
He's essentially working on the whatever changes him into the Goblin. And then we got Silk. The
Cindy
kind of
Moon.
I was very surprised about that. I mean, Insomniac was pretty upfront about like, hey, we're not setting up Spider-Gwen, much to my chagrin. I was very disappointed in
I'm
hearing
okay
that.
with that. That was
I-
okay because we got a lot of Spider-Gwen.
But not
Great
enough.
character. When you got Silk, I mean, there are so many cool Spider Women they could be adding, and I'm glad they added Silk of all. Of them, 'cause, like,
I thought for a second there that maybe they were gonna do like it was Captain Stacy that was gonna be the new person that
Right.
that Rio was dating, and
Yep.
that we were gonna get Gwen introduced through that. But again, just another subversion of expectation, and I think in the best way. Silk is a really interesting character from the comics.
Yes.
There's some stuff that I don't really like that I hope they don't go down the route of she has like this kind of like obsession with Peter. I don't want them to do anything like that. But so as I was mentioning earlier, if they wanted to bring it all home, the comics make it so that she was coincidentally in the same place at the same time as Peter when Peter got bit by the radioactive spider, and as he like threw it off him before it died, it bit her too.
Right.
Very like, wow, the stars
Yeah.
must have really aligned for you there.
It's a
again,
very comic book
yes.
storyline. I don't know if Insomniac's going to
I
be like,
don't
let's
think
do
they're
that.
gonna do that, and I think as well they very interesting. It looks like they made Cindy like younger than Miles even.
Yeah.
She looked pretty short. She looked pretty young. So my assumption actually is that she won't even be a spider person in the third game.
Right.
I think they're planting the seed to really let it grow and flower into something for a Spider-Man 4, 5, and 6, even if they were to
Oh,
continue.
interesting. Okay.
Because I do think it's like I don't think Peter really hung it up, right?
Yeah.
It was more so for him being like, hey Miles, like you got this. Like, let me just be Peter Parker for a little bit. And
A
it was
character
Miles saying,
moment.
exactly. And it was
Yeah.
Miles saying, I got your back, don't worry. I can take over there, I can take control of the city, right?
Yeah.
Because he's coming back for Spider-Man 3, right? You're not going to do Green Goblin without Peter Parker.
No,
like,
you just can't.
Right. But also, like, on top of that, too, like, we just need to have our heads on straight. Like, he's telling Yuri Watanabe, hey, keep me in the loop about Carnage, right? Or keep me in the loop about Cletus Cassidy. I'll help
Right.
you out, right? So he's going to come back and he's going to be Spider-Man whenever he can. It's just that he wants to take a bit of a back seat, and Miles has got his back while he does so. But I don't know if Insomniac, they might have plans here to really go all out. I think they really like playing in this Marvel world. It's doing great for them. I mean, I'm sure the investors are happy. I'm sure Sony's happy. I'm sure PlayStation's happy. And they want as many Spider-Man games out of these guys as possible. And so long as they want to keep making them, well, this is their opportunity to plant little seeds like Silk that maybe don't come to fruition in the next game, but for another trilogy.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it makes more sense to plant these seeds now rather than rush it at the very end when they're like, "Oh,
Exactly.
we don't want to." We might have had plans to stop at 3, but we don't want to anymore, and now we got to play catch up to be like, "Oh, where do we go from here?"
Because then it could be something in the sorts of like Cindy becomes good friends with Miles, they grow a good relationship together, and when
Yeah.
Peter maybe if he dies or if he does officially retire in the third game, Miles is like, I do need some more help in the city. Let's engineer a radioactive spider and give Cindy her powers or something of the sorts, right? Like
Sure. And
let's bring her in on this,
what a better arc for Miles to go from apprentice to like the master, right?
Exactly.
Like
See,
that is
you wrote that you finished off the elevator pitch for me there, Steve.
there we
Perfect.
go. See, hey, Brian and Tahar, call us in. We got you, baby.
He basically mentored Peter the last, I guess, half of the game. I would say. I mean, they switch roles, and
Right.
and Miles, I think, definitely had the better storyline in this game than Peter. Better character growth, better ensemble cast. I think everything that Miles had was just a pinch better than Peter, and I feel that's because, I mean, you
I
can
was
only
just
do so much with Peter, right? Like, we know his
Yeah.
whole story. So
Yeah.
getting Miles, this new character, he's relatively new. He's now we're seeing like a new take on that character, and I love what they're doing with him.
I was just so glad that Miles didn't like take a back seat in any way.
Same.
Like he was
Well,
so
I thought he did at
integral.
one point. Remember? Okay, final fight between Venom and him. They both latch onto him with the web, and then Miles just kind of falls off. I'm like, what the hell are they doing? Do you guys
Yeah.
remember that? And I was
Yeah.
like, no, like
Yeah.
don't be Venom versus Peter. Put the two of them against Venom, and thankfully they listen, right? Because like without Miles, they wouldn't have won.
Also, holy shit, they gave Venom the wings.
Oh
man.
my
Well,
God.
that's why I thought it was
Dude,
null. I was like, there's no.
so cool, man.
Oh, it was yeah, that moment was chef's kiss. But no, I totally agree. I loved Miles's story arc, like his moments with Martin Lee, I think hit home for me.
Oh, that was great
so-
character growth. Like honestly, even Steven's
Beautiful
performance
stuff,
was
man.
just fantastic.
Yeah.
And you interviewed him, and it was just like
yeah.
great interview. And
It
like,
must have been
now I
hard to talk
understand
to him
what he
and
was saying.
not really get into nitty gritty of it, you know?
You know, we were both like on the same page of like, yeah, we can't go too deep into to spoilers at this moment. I was like, yeah, but I'd
I
like
was
to.
just so happy though that a character like that wasn't just like a one and done situation for Insomniac because it was so
Exactly.
important like that was one of the first things they did with Spider-Man PS4 to give the idea that they're doing their own original thing is by choosing a character that we really haven't seen in anything mainstream Spider-Man
Right.
ever. Right.
Yep.
And the fact that they didn't just be like, oh yeah, we did that already. It's fine. Now we're playing with Venom, you know?
Right.
Like, no. Like Mr. Negative is really actually a part of the story and integral to it too. And they wanted to continue that arc for Miles through his character. And I think his redemption arc was fantastic. I
Yep.
think the way that the way he brings it home with like the anti-venom suit is super cool.
Oh my
Just a
God.
beautiful.
really, really good way to like wrap it all up and bring it all together and like just tie a nice, neat bow on it, you know?
Absolutely. And speaking of wrapping things up with a very nice bow, I want to quickly, but as we close out the episode, I want to talk about best suits now that we can talk about things.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
We
Yes.
cannot talk about this game without talking about best suits.
I've been
Rapid
dying.
fire, if you have like one or two that you want to like detail or anything, but for me, the advanced suit 2.0, I love this one just as like a base for Peter.
Black and the red. Yeah.
Yes. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 post-fix. Thank you,
Oh my
Insomniac,
God,
for
thank
fixing
God.
that. You and me talked about that like off before the embargo was over. I was worried there for a moment. I was like, oh my God, no. It's not looking too good. But then they fixed it and it looks immaculate.
I'm bummed because in one of the Let's Play parts, it was pre-patch, so like it's just in there now and it doesn't look great. And I have to put a note to be like, guys, it does not look like this anymore.
Right.
It
Like,
looks so much better after that day one patch.
Yeah. And then the last one for me is the anti-venom suit. I love that arc from the comics with Eddie Brock and Mr. Negative. I love how they adapted that for Peter. And gave him that suit. Yeah, I think the inclusion of that and like again that character moment where he gets up and it goes, I was like, oh, this is incredible. So yeah. And then For Miles, I always love the Bodega Cat one. I love to see the return of that.
Yeah.
The upgraded suit based on that, the base suit, and then uh, I want to throw a runner up here, and I'm curious, Aaron, about this one. Best there is, the Wolverine
Oh
suit.
yeah,
You
dude.
know, someone at Insomniac was like, "Hey, we got the classic Wolverine assets here. Can we just throw them into this game?"
Yeah.
And they're like,
Well,
"Yes."
Well, part of it too is like Miles interestingly has a lot of like variant covers or like alternate Earth versions of himself where he plays other heroes. So and I'm so glad that they made them suits in this game. So I'm
Yeah.
with you. The best there is suit, so cool. And I love that all the different color variants are different like Wolverine looks. You know, one of them is the brown and the yellow,
Yep.
one of them is X-Force, one of them is
Right.
the classic yellow and blue.
Yep.
The only thing is I wish they had the mouth exposed, but I think they just didn't want to have like animating the facial features because they did the
Makes
same
sense.
for one of the Spider-Verse suits with the cape. They just covered the eyes totally. But Miles, I can go on and on about which suits are my favorite. The King in Black, null suit,
Yes.
phenomenal. I'm real like the I think at level 60 you unlock like a secret suit, which is the Absolute Carnage one for Miles as well. Looks
Yes.
so good.
Yep.
I love for some reason I'm really into the shield suit for him. I just something about it really works
It
for
looks
me.
really good. To
It's
stark
really nice.
contrast of the blue suit for Peter, which I
Oh,
think
it's
they
terrible.
botched. Yeah.
Terrible. The 10th anniversary suit is one of my favorite alternate looks for Miles
Yep.
ever. He has the Black Panther suit, which is super cool.
Super cool.
Yeah, like Miles' suits, I could just talk to you all day about. Peter,
Yeah.
I feel like has a bit of a weaker selection of alternate costumes, but I love the second symbiote suit, like when it evolves. I think it
Right,
looks
with like the
so
veins.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just such a good look.
They
The
they
superior
had
costume is
the
phenomenal.
classic Venom suit from the 90s comics. Like it was like
Yeah.
that was
Well,
a great little. It's like that blue and white,
I
or sorry,
love
the
that
blue
they
and
did
red.
that. Yeah, because they
Mhm.
got the blue and the red shading from the animated series, but also the purple shading is one of the colorways for it
Yep.
too. Brilliant idea there. Honestly, great use of the different color palettes. The
I
Craven suit, the last hunt suit is pretty sweet. When
it's
you
a gorgeous suit.
yeah, when you beat all those Craven hideouts.
Yep.
Final swing suit from Spider-Man No Way Home.
Right.
Great
I'm
stuff.
surprised no one's brought up the Superior Spider-Man suit because it was
Superior,
freaking
phenomenal.
gorgeous. That's
It's
that was the
good.
suit I
Yeah.
used mostly for Peter.
Yeah.
Once I unlocked it,
And then
and
Spider-Verse
then
Noir, Raimi
yeah,
symbiote suit. Actually,
Yeah.
okay, wait, Peter does have a pretty good selection, but
he's
there's
got
always
a good selection. But you know what? There's a lot of returning ones, and I'm like,
Exactly.
That
it's
was
like
my
I
problem.
know people want the movies in there, but bring them as DLC later. Like, hey, we're just gonna release them later. Like, put new ones in the game at launch. Because I was excited. I was when they said there's 62 suits. I'm like, oh great, there's gonna
Right.
be a lot of new stuff.
Yeah.
And then as they're going, I'm like, well, I have this one. I've had this one. And I don't care for
Yeah.
this one.
But I
And
do
it
think
was
that the customization, like the colorways,
yeah, like the
ingenious
colorways
idea.
are cool. But like when I said in the spoiler review reviews, like just put like a customization, like just like a way to customize your own version of Spider-Man. So like let you select the eye, let you select the mask, the gloves, the boots, everything. Let you pick and choose what you want. Because if you're just giving people costumes, let them have the variety
Yeah.
and the freedom to choose what they want. Like I would have picked different parts of every suit, and
My
I don't care
my
how bad it
only
looks.
issue for Peter is that I wish he had more comic book suits. Like
Same.
he didn't have enough. And then some of the ones that they did do for him, again, like you said it, Steve, like they really botched it. Like that Fantastic Four suit, I think it has to do something with the rights that got tricky there. That
Sure.
they didn't give him the 4 on the chest. Because otherwise, why the hell does he not have a 4 on his chest? You know?
Yeah, because it's interesting that they can use the shield logo, but
Yeah.
not the 4. Yeah,
But
I
also
don't
the backstory
understand.
building's in the game.
I would
And
have liked to see like the Asgardian armor that Peter has.
yeah. That
And
could have been cool too.
and I like the future foundation. Was that in the first game? I can't remember.
It was one of the free DLCs that they
Yeah,
dropped,
so that's
Right.
what it
but
was.
it didn't
Or like
return in this game.
and or like the spider armors, and like I've said, I want the Ben Riley suit. Like honestly, guys, that is
The
the most.
sensational Spider-Man, like what the hell?
Yeah, why didn't they have that in there? Like
I don't know, man. The total missed opportunity to not have that suit in the game, though.
Hey, they can bring it for 3, hopefully.
Or just
But, yeah.
give me some free DLC, Just
Yeah. Yeah,
I,
I do
I want
wonder.
more. I
Yeah,
want more.
yeah. Aaron, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, all things spoiler for Marvel Spider-Man 2. I know you have a ton of content going up on your channel. Where can people check that out? Where can people find you online?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was really good. I mean, I feel like we still didn't even scratch the surface of
I
all that you
know.
can talk about spoiler-wise.
we'll do
for this
part
game.
2. We'll do part 2.
Sure. But yeah, you can find me on youtube.com/Caboose. I do have a spoiler chat with Brian Intihar that will probably be up around the same time as when this is
Amazing.
up.
I can't
But
wait
in
to listen to
general,
that.
yeah, like lots of let's play parts, lots of content still to come. Insomniac's teasing that they might do a Venom game, so it feels like the Insomniac Marvel universe is never ending. We're in a superhero game renaissance, and that's kind of what I cover. So that's what you can look out for.
Beauty. Bobby, where can people find the website, and where can people find you online?
consolecreatures.com, all your social feeds, and at your local pizza joint where you look at the Console Creature special, which is double pineapple, double bacon, double ham, and no Steve.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks for that. And you can find me across the internet on all social platforms at svigvari. And yeah, we have tons of Spider-Man content on the podcast feeds, with more on the way. But thank you all for tuning into the Spoilercast, and we'll see you next time. Bye.